A Mochi moment from Sadie, who writes, I'm not crying, you're crying. This is what I said during my first appointment with my physician at Mochi, because I didn't have to convince him I needed a GLP-1. He understood, and I felt supported, not judged. I came for the weight loss and stayed for the empathy. Thanks, Sadie. I'm Myra Ahmed, founder of Mochi Health. To find your Mochi moment, visit joinmochi.com.
Sadie is a Mochi member compensated for her story.
This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. For too long, women's serious midlife health issues have been trivialized, ignored, and met with a just deal with it attitude. Many of us have been made to feel ashamed or forgotten. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But here's the powerful truth. It's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI is not just a healthcare provider. It's a woman's telehealth clinic, founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. What sets MIDI apart? We are the only women's telehealth brand covered by major insurance companies, making high-quality expert care accessible and affordable. Our clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. We offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions, from hormonal therapies and weight loss protocols to lifestyle coaching and preventative health guidance. This isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will join our patients who feel seen, heard, and prioritized. You will find that our mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the health care they deserve. Because we believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.
I would feel, because of my mom's relationship with men, she would bend over backwards for men. And that's what I felt respect was. And so,
Oh, from
because
women,
I've
you
seen
felt
that.
like that's
Yeah.
what, if you love me, you will do whatever it is that makes me
Not
happy.
right. You'll
Okay.
make sure I'm calm and I'm petted and I'm not challenged.
Okay.
Now, a woman with her belief in his purpose, but also being the peace at home. And for women, respect is, do you lead with character? Do you lead with your boundaries? To go back to the spirituality component, there's a certain balance of man and woman that's supposed to balance the universe.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I'll be honest, I've never been a man's piece, not a day in my damn life. And that's probably why I struggle so much in relationships. I'm gonna be the war in the center of your life, probably.
Oh, come on now.
That's where.
Emotionally unavailable.
Okay, well, welcome. Love your at down here at Big Dream Hakeem. Is that how you say your name?
That's how you say it.
Get over. Is this your merch?
That's the merch, man.
I love it. Okay. I love it. Well, I was just reading your profile again earlier, and I felt like a good place to start was, because usually I'll like summarize a little bit and then I have my first question, but you have kind of a big backstory. And so I want to start there with just as much of that as you want to jump out with in front of the rest of the conversation, because that was a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot that I've embraced. I feel like we all have a lot, but a lot of us hide most of it and generalize it and categorize it because we don't want to face it. And that's what it means to choose yourself. Now, we have a life that we think we have until we get to that trigger point where we get done dealing with our own excuses. And so growing up, we're conditioned by society, by our parents, by our teachers, our coaches, the movies, the news. And then at some point we get to a trigger point where we're like, okay, what I came from is not the entire world. What I came from is not all
Right.
that exists. What I came from is not the only way of life. And so that's a big component of meeting new people, trying new things,
Mm-hmm.
traveling, and researching stuff that has happened before. And for me, that was 2018. But backtrack to growing up, half German, half Jamaican. I was too dark for my white friends, too light skinned for my black friends. Didn't really fit in until I found my passion, which was sports. I was an athlete from 4 years old till I was 26. I played something athletic year round. That was my place of peace. And anybody else who enjoyed that passion became my people, which is why I always talk about finding a way to figure out what you're curious about, make time in your foundation to be able to research and reflect, and you will find your tribe. And it may not be the people you grew up with. It can get lonely choosing yourself. It's called the cocoon phase.
Yeah.
One caterpillar per cocoon. If you want to be a butterfly and fly with the other butterflies and flutter around, you need to do the solitude work on your own. So being an athlete, I was born with a single white mom. My dad was Jamaican, Rasta, jazz, reggae player, traveling the world, doing his thing, sex, drugs, and reggae. and, Rasta man.
Sex, drugs, and reggae.
That was it, yep. And so when I was 10, my little brother was born. So then it was my mom, my little brother's dad, and me. When I was 16, he passed from leukemia. When that happened, that was a realization where I was like, oh, life is for real. People die. A lot of people, it's their grandparents or their dog. Hopefully not your parents first, and hopefully not your kids first. But for me, it was my brother, and watching what that did, what the medical system and the healthcare system, how they treated him, but also how it impacted my mom, showed me a different side of family. And so that was kind of my first expansion, conscious expansion of life, understanding it's fragile, but when we grieve, a lot of people will hide it. They'll get depressed and they'll just sit and not do nothing. There's people who will mask it under work, under money, under other people, relationships, sex, addiction, screens, drugs. And so I had a combination of all those things throughout 11 years. But my mask happened to be sports. When I pulled the plug on them, I went and got in the van, I played a basketball game, and I had a dream to go to the NFL. As long as I had that dream, I had the mask that said I was okay. As long as people saw me performing in practice, showing up in school, playing every game, they're like, oh, he's fine. Nothing wrong with him. Look at him. He scored a touchdown. Look at him. He dunked the ball. Look at him.
Right. Like if you're still able to show up and function in these ways that are expected of you, then you must be fine.
I must be fine. So that was the mask. That was the ego, right? That was the macho, masculine, societal, toxic masculinity of not being vulnerable and not being accountable for emotions, talking to people, meditating, journaling, reflecting, all those things now that I do on a daily. And so I went D1 full ride, didn't like it. I ran from it just like I ran from the grief. Now, what happens on the inside will always happen on the outside. Our ego, our mind, is what reflects our projections. So whatever your self-belief is becomes your interpretation of what's happening in life. So if I'm angry, resentful, fearful, and running, then I start to do that in my real life. So I went D1, then I went D2 on a scholarship, tore my ACL, caught a case, caught a felony, first-degree assault, 86 months over my head, probation for 20 years, dropped out, had 5 knee surgeries, was in the streets. That was my second dark place. The first was my brother. The second one was when I dropped out in those surgeries.
Yeah.
Then I went back to school, went D3, played 4 years, got All-American, got my bachelor's degree, tried to go pro, broke my ankle again, went back into the dark place because now I lost the mask. No more sports. It's over. You're not going to the league no more.
Yeah.
So I went into substance abuse, and I went down there for 2 years, and eventually my choices led me into solitude, and in solitude, the Choose Yourself process was born, which is in 5 pillars that I now implement into my workshops, retreats, and into the Choose Yourself community, which we meet every week. We got powerful, powerful self-choosers in the CYC who go through these 5 pillars and are now embracing their story that they've hid for years, that they've sabotaged their life subconsciously because they didn't deal with their emotions. They attract the things that they hid and they can't figure out why they're in this loop of toxicity. And you should see as that happened, now those systems I used to pull myself out of that dark place, I now implemented into personal development, business development, brand development, and spiritual development. It's the same systems, and those can be applied to any transition. And so when I was selling with my uncle and his company, and I was top in sales, I moved to Manhattan from Minneapolis to the Big Apple, was there for 6 years. And in those 6 years in New York, the Choose Yourself community and movement was born. And now I just moved to Florida That's what I call it, because I'm a flow reader, a growth needer. And so I moved down here to expand the brand and expand my nature of anatomy because of the environment down here compared to the concrete jungle. And so now I'm down here speaking in front of kids, on stages, hosting workshops, retreats with the same system I developed in my life through my story, helping people build their brand from their story.
Right on. So, what can you identify now in hindsight? What were some of those subconscious narratives that were driving you that made your outside look the way it did? What was happening inside that maybe you weren't aware of then, but you're aware of now that made your outsides look so dark?
Yeah, I mean, just anger, which is a emotion that covers up a deeper emotion. And the deeper emotion was neglect, abandonment, fear, lack of effort to be there for my people because I was so caught up in trying to put on the mask. And so now really being there for my people is a major focus of mine. And so now I understand what choosing yourself and filling up your cup so you can pull from an overflow onto the ones you love. I understand what that is. Instead of seeking to complete tasks and score touchdowns and get in these relationships and spend money and flip on the black market, blacking out, all that was seeking something. This
Mm-hmm.
now is investing internally and then projecting and reverberating literally outward instead of trying to be filled by other things. And that's the big flip is that awareness, accountability will then generate ascension, which allows you to exemplify health and happiness. And that can be the motivation. I speak to relate with people with a intention to inspire. And if I don't worry. Life will put you on your ass and you will be forced to choose yourself.
Oh, that's so true. So, the stuff that you mentioned, neglect, abandonment, rejection, all the things, the most common narratives that come with those is like, I'm too much, not enough. I have the weight of the world on my shoulders and no one else to help me carry it. Um, no one loves me the way I love them. No one shows up for me. Are those things that you would say were true in your life prior? The things that you thought about yourself?
Shout out to Mama D, who never told me I wasn't enough. She always told me I could do whatever I wanted to do, but I was around people that had full families. My dad wasn't around. And so not having that male role model, not having that discipline always kind of made me feel inclined to show that I didn't have that. So then I would act out in school. I was the prankster. I was the talker. I was talking back. I didn't take coaching well. I didn't take direction well. If people would say do one thing, I would do the other every time just
Mhm.
because. And I think that was subconsciously to show that I didn't have the discipline at home. So I wanted to exemplify that to some extent. I had a huge resentment towards my dad. And
Mhm.
until I became accountable for my choices and I couldn't blame him, I forgave
Mhm.
him and I started to evolve at an exponential rate. Like once I forgave my dad and started talking to him and just accepted that it was what it was, like I see so much of myself in his mindset and it allowed me to see myself through,
Right.
40 years down the road.
Yeah. It's I do hear this from men a lot. There's a big variety in the things that men will say their dad didn't teach them. But like my husband's is like, my dad didn't teach me how to socialize or have conversation. But my son, who was 18, we just lost him a few months ago to an
Mm,
overdose. One of the things that he really harped on that I just couldn't get him to understand was like, an internal process that he was going to have to get through. But his was, none of the men in my life have taught me to be masculine enough. And he was really going after this idea of masculinity, different than the athletic way that you were trying to do that, but just trying to be a little harder than he really was, because he
mm,
wasn't. He had a very soft spirit, but just trying to, the mask he wore was the toxic masculinity. And I'm starting to see how common this is from men to feel like their dads really failed them. And I mean, like, as women, we can say, like, my mom, she didn't hug me enough or whatever, but I don't know that, like, we're just like, well, just in general, nobody chose me. I think that's the wound that women really carry, is like, we were never the chosen one in our family system or whatever. But I'm really, like, excited that you were able to confront that and go, hey, I can see how one gets to this place, and I'm going to be there one day if I don't get this shit figured out.
Yeah, had to, and I fought a lot. Bars,
You're a
parties,
fighter.
I fought a lot. Yeah, that's where I
Yeah.
got locked up. I was in and out of the system and, did 8 months twice and because I was fighting. Too much fighting.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
would not condone the disrespect, not knowing that a real man gets wiser by not reacting to disrespect. A little
Mhm.
boy is the one that tries to control the person who's disrespecting them. And that's a huge flip
Right.
as well. And now having an understanding of who I am, who God is, what it is, that it's inside, not knowing specifically what God is, but I do know the traits that God would like me to possess. And you can
Mhm.
feel the difference once you embrace the times you didn't possess those. But if you still possess those, you probably don't know because you don't know otherwise.
Right.
And there's a point of expansion that you go into the unknown and the uncertainty where you got to have some type of blind faith in something. I don't know if it's
Something.
something,
Something bigger than
something.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, even when you go to college, you reading something, you don't even know what you're learning, but you got a faith in whatever that curriculum is to become whatever you think you want to be. And a lot of times people don't even
Mhm.
become that. And so whether it's
So
college
true.
or religion or pop culture or politics, your beliefs and views can change. And a lot of people don't want to change them because of the fear of the unknown. And that's where I
Sure.
was.
Well, and the fear of not being enough that they're not even aware of. So speaking of changing kind of the way you believe or mindset, has your framing of respect and disrespect changed at all as you've gone through this process? Because that was something that I really saw in younger people that I've known and when I was younger. But even in myself, the things that I viewed as disrespectful, I think that I thought they were disrespectful because my belief was that there was intent behind the action. Whereas now I don't necessarily, I feel like their shit's about them, mine's about me. They're not, we're just colliding right now. Has your view on that? I'm asking you because you're a male. So
Mhm.
like, it really is just curious. Like
Yeah,
if your view on disrespect has changed.
definitely. I mean, before it was if you didn't agree with me, I'm like, "Who you talking to? This is
Yes.
how it is."
Yeah.
I don't know who you talking to. I will
Oh my
knock
God.
your ass
Yeah.
out for no
Guilty.
reason. Just,
Mhm.
and then you end up being around a bunch of yes men who don't challenge you, and now you're just stuck because everybody's like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, go ahead, whatever your belief is. We don't want to
Uh-huh.
challenge you, otherwise he's gonna friggin' bully me," and that's not how you lead.
Mhm.
And that's what a lot of these freaking mass extinction, mass murder leaders did. If you act
Yeah.
different, you die, and that
Mhm.
is not the way you lead. If you look at Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, if you look at Buddha, Allah, they lead by just accepting, allowing, and being. And that's how you
Mhm.
lead now. And that's
Mhm.
what respect is. And so when you are able to, at first, the disrespect was disagreement. Now I feel like disrespect comes down to morals and core values. And so if somebody were to lie, cheat, steal, those are disrespect, blatantly. They're
Yeah.
blatantly disrespect. But if you disagree or you choose a different direction, that is not disrespect. That is your choice. Fine. What can I do about that? Besides keep
Right.
being myself and stay accountable. Now, when it comes to women, I would feel because of mom's relationship with men, she would bend over backwards for men. And that's what I felt respect was. And so,
Oh. From
because I've
women, you
seen
felt
that.
like that's
Yeah.
what that if you love me, you will do whatever it is that makes me
Not
happy.
right. You'll
Okay.
make sure I'm calm and I'm petted and I'm not
Oh,
challenged, and
okay.
you don't freaking even make me any type of freaking anything. Do a
Don't
little
get me
soft ass
upset,
up, boy.
woman.
God. Now, now a real woman is one who will be at peace at home. And that will literally change a man's direction in the world. Now, the respect for men has now come down to, what are your choices like? How's your impulse control? How do you treat your mother and your family? And for women, respect is, do you lead with character? Do you lead with your boundaries? That's the society we live in. And so, to go back to the spirituality component, there's a certain balance of man and woman that's supposed to balance the universe, and it's all thrown
Mhm.
off right now. So respect from either side has changed, and I think it will continue to evolve. But now if I see somebody who walks confidently and you can just feel the aura now because I can feel mine, that automatically makes me feel connected. It makes me feel respected because they understand what it takes to get there. And
Yeah,
so that's the alignment component, but definitely disrespect, respect, both change. I think throughout life, but I think we just get closer to the truth. I don't think it goes left and right. I think it comes
right.
closer to the core.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I'll be honest, I've never been a man's piece, not a day in my damn life, and that's probably why I struggle so much in relationships. I wanna be the war in the center of your life, probably.
Oh, come
Um,
on now.
that's where, a lot of my work has come from, is realizing, well, you're not always right, Melissa. You, in fact, are wrong a lot, but let's see what we can do about that.
I th-
Okay, so
yeah.
what are what are other ways that you feel like you really shifted through the work that you have done on yourself?
Spiritually, for sure. I mean, I used to question who God. Well, my little brother died. I said, "Oh, yep, I don't believe it.
Mm,
How you gonna kill a 6-year-old? Who else would
yeah,
take him? The devil? I thought God did everything. He must have took the 6-year-old."
right.
But when I realized having that 6 years of me.
Did you know that Emotionally Unavailable is 100% produced in-house? Just me, no team, no producers, just my love for yapping and honestly helping other people. So if you've ever been touched by the show and you want to give back, this is your chance. Just go subscribe to the Patreon, grab some merch, grab a workbook. You can get all of that at my link tree in the show notes, and I appreciate every single one of you and all of your support.
Having to grow up and then be compassionate and soft to a child was the way that I could then use those traits on my own inner child and heal
Mm-hmm.
myself. So that became gratitude. And then also having my mom and dad be like super Christian. I never was like that. I went to church like 7 times on holidays, and my uncle would take
Really?
me. He's like, "If you come with me, we go to the arcade after." I'm like, "Fine, but I'm gonna be asleep."
Okay.
So I used to do that, but I think church is where you make it. Church is where you practice your worship and prayer. Mine is in the mornings and in the gym. So I don't think you got to go to a building. But anyways, if you got to, fine. Do what you got to do. Go to nature, go in a building. But yeah, spiritually it's changed into choose yourself as God's message, and the self is the version you were supposed to be right when you came out the womb, until society tried to make you someone you're not. And then life is about unbecoming those things and getting back to that pure form. And that's why the happiest people are before 7 years old and after 85, because we go through
Mhm.
that whole transition. And so God is exactly what, if you can find the underlying truths, not the contradictions, the truths between thousands of religions, that's God. The
Mhm.
truths. We talk about personal development, faith, solitude, prayer, fasting, community, and awareness. Those are all in everything. Now, how you say you do it, 40 days, 50 days, the woman does this, the guy does this, they all
Right.
resemble different traits. That's the God, and there's a little bit of
Mhm.
God in every person. That's who you should talk to, but make sure they see the God in you first. And if they don't see the God
Yeah.
in them, of course you won't see it. So that was a huge shift. But then my thoughts about fitness. I used to work out to perform. Now I work out to live longer and walk at the end of my life and wipe my own butt. So now I'm learning about gut health. I used to eat fast food and freaking all day, McDonald's, Taco Bell, jail food, school food, freaking gas station food. And now I'm like, I can't. I think that comes with age too, but also learning about what's in the food and what's going on and with the propaganda and how they try to get you sick and then get you hooked on drugs and all that. And then the pharmaceutical industry as well. That's a huge shift. I used to take ibuprofen and allergy meds like nobody's business. Now I don't take it at all.
Yeah.
And so those three things, I think just awareness of like what life is and what we should be doing was a huge shift in helping people embrace their story. Because when the fourth day on my second 8-month stint, I started writing my story down and I wrote down 5 chapters. That was it. 5 experiences. It weren't even a chapter title. And then that was 2017. It took until 2023 for me to write my book. And the whole time I just had a notepad on my iPhone and I would type in chapter and I'd be like, I'd read a book. I think about, oh my God, that happened. Type it, figure out what chapter went in. So I had this huge long note about it. And eventually it got so long, I had to make another notepad. I'm like, all right, let me get this onto a document. And then I wrote on the document. And then over time, I kept tapping into it, refining it. And then on Christmas last year, 12 hours straight, I wrote it with my co-writer, editor. And then Christmas Eve and Christmas, I did 12 hours each and wrote my book. And it's only 88 pages, but it took that long because when you suppress it under masking and numbing, you don't even remember what stuff that happened until you write it down. You're like, oh, okay, that happened. I accept it. I researched grief. Now I'm not so much in pain about it. What's the next layer under there? Because we just be like, oh, that was age 0 to 7. So writing your story, embracing your story is really how we become aware of the triggers.
Yeah, I agree. But what is your belief about embracing your story? What does that mean to you?
Well, you got to go, I would say, here's a quick exercise. Go back to the 3 times in your life that changed your life to before and after. What were those? Write down the victim interpretation and then write down the chapter title as if you were trying to inspire someone else. So, little brother died, fell in, 5 knee surgeries, my dad, my girl left me in jail, got robbed, got beat up, boo-hoo. How do you flip those into the positive? That's embracing your story. Now, when you move through the world, you use the pain for power so that when you see that in someone else, you now work with empathy and you work with compassion because you've had that with yourself. Now, if like I was, if you're like, oh, it's messed up, they took a 6-year-old. Somebody's like, I lost my mom. I'm like, at least they weren't 6. Don't matter if you lost your phone, your dog, your wallet, your mom. Loss is a loss. Everybody's worse is worse. Okay, so it does the pain of loss. And when we understand that, we embrace that, then we have compassion for people who have lost. It doesn't matter how bad it is for us. It's the fact that they have the feeling of loss right now. And now what did we do through our loss? We can provide those tools. So we go into the pain, find the systems. Mine was 11 years of mass, numb, and then systems. So a big thing that we do in the CYC is we write our story. You ain't got to publish it. You ain't got to say it to no one. You write the titles, the subtitles, and you start writing paragraphs as we go through these exercises and we start to go through the Choose Yourself process. Using my book as an example, you write your story and then maybe you leave it for your kids when you die. I don't know. Do what you want. Do whatever you want to do, but write a book. Write a book, and it's a lot different. When I wrote my book.
That's a great way to acknowledge the parts of your life that really shaped who you became.
And when I wrote my book, I was like, oh man, how do I talk about my dad? How do I talk about my mom? What parts can I say? And this is stuff that like you have this chatter inside and you have these beliefs about it. But when you write it in your book, you're like, oh, I don't know if I should say that about my Well, no. And
Yes.
then you're like, okay, so why
I
do I
waited
say
till
that
they
in
were
my
all dead, and then I wrote mine. I was like, well, I can't be fighting with folk about that. Can't be
like,
can't be sued or nothing.
and then when you write your book, you're writing it not like, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. You don't write so much the victim. You only write the positive because we care about what other people think of us a lot more than we care about ourselves. And that's how we're raised. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you have to write it for someone else to believe, to inspire someone else, you flip your mindset because you want them to be inspired. You want them to see value in your story. So you have to see your own value to write it as such.
That is a very good point because I'll be honest, my initial thought was a little like, well, there's a little bypassing in there, but you're exactly right. If you're going to make yourself look like a hero, you have to believe you're a hero. And
Mm-hmm.
so finally, I know lots of people who don't see their worth and value. So you're right. That is a great way for someone to start to see themselves as worthy and valuable. And like they do have something, a lot of some things to offer the world.
Mm-hmm. I think
Yeah, I
everybody
like that.
does, but
Yes.
it's in the parts that we hide, really.
Yeah, yep. So, in you kind of, I'll just say in your victim consciousness, um, did you kind of start to look at, like, how you attracted certain experiences?
Yeah, just because, you want to get lit, you call the people with the lit products. You know, you want a mask, you find people who enjoy the character that you're portraying. You don't
Mm,
you don't
God, do
go
I know
into a
all about
sober
that.
house when you're trying to mask getting lit. You go to the party, you go to the after party, you go to the women
Yeah.
who are hurt, you go to the
Mhm.
casino, you go to the freaking tobacco, nicotine, sugar, liquor, weed, screens, pills, you go to that and you find people with
Yeah.
that. And so, but the awareness wasn't there. I thought those were my friends.
Of course. Yeah.
You think because you're like, you're doing it, I'm doing it. We're great. We always have a
This
blast.
is
Up for 3
awesome.
days. This is
Mhm.
fun. Nope, not at all. And when I started to change, I haven't talked to those people since then. Since
Mm-mm.
I did that
Oh, they disappear
second,
so quickly. Yeah.
they're gone. When I did those 8 months twice, they couldn't call me. I couldn't go out. And so I was like, dang, I had about
Mhm.
4 friends who were still with me. My mama D, Big Greg was there. Had about 4 or 5 friends who I was in contact with. And then some other friends resurfaced after they started choosing themselves because, they see the content. They're like,
They
dude,
wanna be
I
around
need
people who
this.
are doing that.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, I need this, bro. How'd you do that? We used to be lit all weekend. How'd you pull yourself out? I can't stop getting lit. I'm like, what? I'll tell you. Come on into the Choose Yourself community.
Yeah. So, do you kind of remember when that shift happened to you when you were writing those things out? Like, where all of a sudden you were able to see yourself as worthy and as somebody who has, like, a lot to offer?
I think the switch in that didn't come until I got feedback.
Oh,
It didn't.
okay.
I was blindly just researching and trying to control my sleep. I went from going to sleep at 7 a.m., waking up at 2 p.m. to then I had my job opportunity where I had to be up at 9 and in the streets by 11. So I had to make that 5-hour shift. And so I was reading about sleep, morning routine. I was just reading about small things. And the
Yes.
blessing that I had was my uncle, my godfather, who stepped in when my dad wasn't around. He launched a liquor company, ironically enough. So I went from drinking spirits to selling spirits to uplifting spirits. I'm a spiritual guy. He launched a company that he had been working on for about 9 years in Minneapolis, and he was doing it himself, driving around selling it to liquor stores, and he got big enough to where he could move to California. He needed someone to take over Minnesota, and I had been bartending for 9 years at that point, and so I was in the spirits industry, and I knew connections, and he's like, yo, you want to start selling liquor? I'm like, yo, finally, because I had a felony, so I couldn't go back to university. I couldn't get a house. I couldn't
Yeah.
get a car. I couldn't freaking apply my degree. So I'm just bartending and throwing parties in the black market. So like, I'm like, well, I'm a felon. If they call me a felon, I will be a felon. I'm going to act like a felon, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Thank God I was
Mhm.
discharged 9 years early. That's why I moved. But when he asked me, I used that as, I owe him. I need to do well.
Yeah.
So now I really took that sales job seriously because it was my uncle who looked out for me for so long, and not knowing that that was the catalyst for my evolution, my dedication. I'm like, I can't stay out late. I have to go sell liquor for my uncle. Our family's going to be rich one day. So now it became about someone else,
Yeah.
just like my athletic mindset. I can't go out. I have a game on Saturday. I can't go out after Tuesday. So that mindset just clicked right away. I said, okay, I got farmers in Mexico. I got my uncle. I got my dad. I got my kids coming. This is my way out the hood. So that
Yeah.
shifted my focus from personal development to business, psychology, sales, communication development, studying the liquor industry, but I still had the systems that pulled me out of my dark place that I implemented into
Right.
business. And so if it
Right.
wasn't my uncle, I probably would have tricked it off. I probably would have messed it up. But because it was my uncle, 2018 to 2021, I just locked in to the systems, the foundation, the nighttime routine, sleep, morning routine, boundaries, and not overindulging. Now, I still like to have fun, but you got to have a balance of it. You can't be
Right.
dependent on it, you know?
Right.
And you got to be able to flush out the toxins and get back on track. If you can't dabble without depending, then you should not at all. You should break free,
Yeah.
you know?
It's
So
probably not for you.
that's what I'm saying. My dad runs a sober house 14 years, and he said some people can drink and some people drink and do crack. I was like, dang, you right. he's like the people that drink and then
That's
go get
so
crack
true. Some
did
people
not drink.
do drink and do crack.
I was like, yeah, if you can't drink and then go to sleep, you got to go out all night. You should not be drinking. And if you got diabetes, you shouldn't eat sugar. And if you ain't got no money, you shouldn't go to the casino. Like, not everybody can do
Right.
everything, you know?
Right.
So that, having that though really helped with my evolution. And then when he was like, finally, after I was just killing it, I just boosted sales. I'm 500% every year. And he's like, you're doing a good job. I said, oh, what? It's the first time my dad or uncle has ever said that. I said, what? I'm doing
Wow.
a good job. This is tight. And it lit me up. And I kept going and kept going. And then I didn't start doing my content online until I got to New York. Because first it was Revel. I'm going to take over the company. Revel, sales, Revel, promotion, activation, consumption. Oh, I'll still drink, but I got to go sleep early because I got to wake up, hit the gym, and still get ready and look at my physique. I can sell. Look, I look great. I got a great product. Yeah, and that was the whole freaking part of it. But I moved to New York, and like after about a year over there, that company pulled the funding out of New York. So then I was no longer with that brand. And so I had to figure it out. I pulled in some other brands. I started bartending and at random places. And then I started really going in online. And that's how I grew from 3,500 to 400K in about the last 5 years. And online was content about choosing yourself, mindset, morning routine, and your story. But I had my uncle to motivate me as an external motivation in the
Right.
transition. So grateful
Yeah.
for that.
Well, I mean, and listen, we all need that sometimes. It's kind of like needing a dopamine hit here and there. I mean, there you got to have people around you who are going to motivate you whenever you're not able to do that for yourself.
You do.
That's why community is so important. So if that's what it took, that's what it took. But you absolutely did have a structure and a system in place to be able to meet those expectations. Because if you hadn't done the things that you'd already done, you could have tried real hard, and that doesn't mean you've been successful. If you were still sleeping until 2 p.m.,
Right.
you knew how to shift because you had
shift it.
done some things,
Yeah. And in the first couple months, it was a little rough. My expenses was out of
sure.
control. My Ubers, my uncle was like, what are you doing? You don't even have any sales. I was like, I don't know. I ain't never sold liquor. I'm just drinking it. I don't know. Every time I've had liquor before, I throw parties.
The guy who would sell liquor does. I don't know. You didn't
I'm like, I just went to every meeting and drank it with the person, thinking that was cool. He's like, yeah,
try a shot. See what you think.
Here, I'll try this. I'll try this. We got another one. Want it? I'll try it. Yeah, try this. I'll try it. Like, yeah, I'm just working. No, you're not. You should not be doing that. So, and then when he said, if you keep that up, I can't keep you on the team, I just took off. That was my last, because I was like, if I don't do this, I'm going back to that. And so I really just eliminated all expenses, drove everywhere, didn't drink, didn't Uber, and took off in sales. And from then on, the rest was history. I crushed it in Minnesota. And I'm grateful for having that support of my uncle and the people that are on the team.
Yeah. And you said you're in Florida now?
Yep, Florida.
Wow. What a life.
Man.
So
Yeah.
how do you spend most of your day now?
Well, like, this morning, so I wake up at 3 a.m., go to sleep about 8, and I go turn on the cold shower, brush my teeth, scrape my tongue, and then I'll stretch out my feet, read, write my task list, then I get on the screens. Always got to have a buffer between your alarm and your screens in the outside world. Then I'll get on, do some work, organize, check emails, plan out my day, see what I have to do, and then I hit the gym, stretch, cardio, weights, might shoot some hoops. Then I usually get back by 8 o'clock, might go to get some groceries or might get a haircut or might do laundry because I'm at a laundromat now. So one of those three things are usually at like 8. And then my first meeting's not till usually 10, 9 at the earliest, but from 8 to 10, I'm cooking, usually doing more content and more business, having my calls with my family and my people, do those in the morning. And then 10 until like 3 is usually meetings, podcasts, my CYC, my coaching, my business, my mentorships, any other type of group features or online connection. And then at night, I typically plan my next day, but I also have some calls in there too. Sometimes they overflow, but that's the structure, man. The morning I choose myself, the middle of the day is connection and community, and the end is creation. And I try to create at the end because I get inspired by people in the middle. I create in the morning
Mm.
and at the end. The morning motivation comes from the subconscious from after you sleep. That's why I don't touch my
Mhm.
screen because I'm brushing my teeth, I cold shower, I stretch. I just have thoughts firing just
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
morning. If you get right to your screens, you're blocked. Now you're thinking about
Mhm.
what you're looking at. Turn on the news,
Mhm.
you turn on friggin' some type of music, you turn on so I just nothing, it's dark. I even cold shower in the dark. I've failed before.
Yeah.
I caught myself. I didn't I did fall because I just got to this new place. I didn't know the land like that. So now I hit the lamp. Hit the lamp now, but yeah, so that's important. But that's how I structure my day. And then if I do have to bartend, I'll go usually 5 until midnight, and then I'll start my day. I'll go to sleep like 1 to 8, and then I won't start my first meeting till 12, but I'll condense my morning routine down
Right.
into 90 minutes instead of 3 hours, and I'll still check the box, and I'll start my day a little later. So flexibility,
Yeah.
and that's what we talk about and about the foundation. And, I have a 12-hour foundation and I have a 7-hour foundation. And the foundation is your
Yeah.
nighttime routine, sleep, morning routine without people,
Mhm.
without screens, and without toxins. That's it. And so this is what I started coaching by giving people a foundation, 6 pillars.
Yeah.
There's 6 pillars, and I would ask about your life and what you were doing before and after your sleep. And we would get these pillars, we would get times down, and we would put systems in between. And then this is all you have to focus on. This is it. And nobody's watching. And this is how you change your relationship with yourself because if you can't do what you say when only you are watching, you will not expect other people to believe you, even if you think that you should. Your subconscious is
Mhm.
watching like, you don't even do that. You can't even put your screen down. You always wake up and drink
Yeah.
coffee before water. You always hit the snooze. You never exercise. You always got an egg, ham, and cheese sandwich bright and early in the morning, then you got a Celsius. How you gonna tell people about health? How you gonna tell people how to budget when you're out here buying random stuff every day online? So we have to be the person first. So the foundation is everything. That's what saved my life. That's how I started shifting my wake up times and really pull myself out was I focused on my
Mhm.
foundation, which forced me to get home by my curfew. I would have a curfew. And there was a
Yeah.
time where I was balancing. I would go out, I'm like, all right, y'all, curfew's 8 o'clock. Let's go drink at 5. And 7:30 would come. I'm like, all right, I'm out. So I would still balance and I'd be out
Yes.
getting lit and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to sleep. And then I would still wake up, 5 a.m. and freaking do all the things. But, I tell people a little bit at a time, little bit at a
You said
time.
we're drinking at dinner, okay?
I'm not, they're like, we're going out after. I'm like, no, I'm not. Should have came to dinner.
That's
But
awesome. Well, I've loved having you today. Tell us where we can find you.
yeah, Big Dream Hakeem on IG and TikTok, Choose Yourself channel on IG and YouTube. And the Choose Yourself community is on the school app. We meet every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern time for accountability. Build your brand from your story. My book is available online, Choose Yourself to Be Chosen. And you can tap in to chooseyourself.info, submit your email, and find out the details on any more workshops we have coming up. Will be coming up this year in 2026. We have Tampa, LA, Sedona, Virginia Beach, and there's one other one. Just send your email. I'll send y'all the info, but got a lot of stuff coming out. And if you have an opportunity in your city, please believe I will do my best to collaborate with you and the people you know.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.
Emotionally unavailable.
All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
INDEPE and cut.